please like and subscribe. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be talking all about basketball.
Please like and subscribe.
You guys sent in some excerpts from Basketball Anatomy, which is written by an NBA team physician
Wow.
and a strength and conditioning expert.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So let's dive into this.
Okay.
The book starts by talking about strength as the foundation of, like, everything.
Yeah.
It even mentions Al Vermeil's hierarchy of athletic development.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, why should I care about that as a basketball player?
Well, because it shows you that strength is the foundation for power, speed, agility.
Okay.
All the things that make a basketball player great.
So you're saying, like, if I don't have that strength foundation, all that other stuff is going to suffer.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the book dives deep into that, starting with the legs.
Okay.
Where the game starts.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I'm already thinking about, like, those explosive first steps, those powerful jumps. But they don't just talk about, like, squats and deadlifts, right?
No, they go way beyond that.
Okay.
They emphasize the importance of the glute muscles.
The glutes.
Your glutes.
Okay, so strong glutes aren't just about looking good.
No.
They actually help you jump higher and move faster.
Think about it. Every time you jump, you use your glutes. You use your glutes.
Huh.
Landing from a jump shot, you're using your glutes.
Okay.
So they have an exercise called the hip thrust for those muscles.
Have you ever done a hip thrust?
I have, and let me tell you, they burn, but they're effective.
Okay, so we're talking about getting those game-winning dunks and rebounds with the strong glutes.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the legs a lot. The book also talks about the core as the center of stability.
Right.
I'll admit, I usually just think about crunches or sit-ups when I think about the core.
Well, it's so much more than that. Think about all the movements in basketball, the twisting, the turning, jumping, landing.
Mm-hmm.
You need a strong core to stabilize your spine, keep you balanced.
So a weak core means I'm more likely to get hurt then?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
And it can also limit your power. Think about boxing out under the basket.
Yeah.
That's your core working.
I see.
You know, keeping you strong, holding your ground.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
And for core strength, they recommend some interesting exercises too, like this banana hold.
Yeah, the banana hold.
Have you ever heard of that one?
I have. It's basically an isometric exercise.
Okay.
So you're holding a position, and it's building strength without moving.
So it's kind of like a plank, but maybe a little more fun.
Maybe, but it's definitely effective.
Oh.
You're building that inner strength.
So we've got the legs, we've got the core. What about upper body strength?
Well, the book has separate chapters on pulling and pushing exercises.
Okay.
Making it clear that balance is key.
Yeah, that makes sense because you need strong arms for everything, like shooting, passing, rebounding.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't even underestimate the importance of a strong back.
For your upper body.
Yes, and even for shooting.
Really?
Yeah, they explain how a stable back provides a base for controlled arm movements.
So a strong back can help my jump shot.
It's all connected.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing.
It is, and then on the defensive end,
Okay.
you know, a strong back helps you hold your position against bigger, stronger opponents.
Yeah.
Think about boxing out again.
Right, yeah.
You need that strong back.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all this stuff connects together.
Yeah.
So we've covered strength in the legs, the core, the upper body.
Yeah.
But what about explosive power? That's what really separates, like, the average players from the high flyers.
Right,
Like,
absolutely. And that's what we're going to get into in part 2.
okay.
When we dive into the chapter on explosive weight training.
Sounds intense. I'm ready.
It is. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We left off talking about explosive power and how it separates those average players from the high flyers.
Right. It's what lets those guys get those crazy dunks and make those lightning fast deals.
Exactly. And that's where this chapter on explosive weight training comes in.
All right, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so, like, how do we actually develop that explosive power?
Well, the first thing they emphasize is that it's built on that foundation of strength we talked about.
So no shortcuts. Got to put in the work on those squats and deadlifts.
Exactly. But once you have that base, you can start to translate it into power.
Okay.
You know, the ability to generate force quickly.
I see.
And that's where exercises like power cleans and snatches come in.
Power cleans and snatches. That sounds like Olympic lifting. Is that really necessary for basketball?
They can be really beneficial, especially when you're trying to develop explosiveness, to jump higher, sprint faster, react quickly.
Okay, so we're talking about those players who just seem to fly through the air effortlessly.
Exactly. Think about a point guard blowing past a defender or a center rising up for a rebound.
Right.
That's the kind of explosiveness that we're talking about.
But those lifts seem pretty technical. Can I just like pick those up on my own?
Well, the book stresses the importance of proper technique and progression.
Okay.
You don't want to just throw around heavy weights without knowing what you're doing.
Safety first. So maybe start with lighter weights, focus on the form, and then add weight.
Exactly. And if you can work with a qualified coach,
Right, to make sure you're doing it right.
yeah, they can guide you through the movements.
Okay, so all these explosive exercises are great for building power, but what about staying healthy?
Injury prevention is super important.
Especially in basketball, right?
Absolutely. Basketball is a high-impact sport. It puts a lot of stress on your joints.
Right. So we got to know how to prevent injuries.
Exactly. And they don't just give you some generic advice like stretch more. They get into the mechanics of these injuries.
Right, so you can understand how they happen.
Yeah, like remember that concept we talked about earlier, dynamic valgus?
Uh-huh.
They explain how that inward knee collapse can really put a lot of stress on the ACL.
And that can lead to tears.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And then they give you specific exercises to strengthen the muscles that help prevent that.
So it's not just about rehabbing after an injury. It's about being proactive and preventing it in the first place.
Exactly. And the same goes for shoulder injuries, which are also really common.
Right.
They talk about how muscle imbalances and poor technique can increase the risk of rotator cuff tears.
They even talk about posture, like how important it is for shoulder health.
It all comes back to understanding your body and how it moves.
Right, making sure you're training the right way.
Yeah, and protecting your joints.
I'm really impressed with how deep this book goes.
Me too. One of the things that stood out to me was the author's background.
Oh, yeah. What's their story?
Well, one of them actually studied strength and conditioning techniques from former East Germany and the Soviet Union.
Whoa, that's a different level of expertise.
Right. It shows you how complex athletic development really is.
It's not just about hitting the gym and lifting weights. There's a science behind it.
Yeah, they've combined anatomy, biomechanics, training principles, years of experience.
It's like they've created a blueprint for success in this book.
They really have.
Okay, well, I'm ready to hit the gym, but before we all go running off to do power cleans, let's talk about how to actually put all this knowledge into action.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, so we're back, and we've talked about strength, power, injury prevention, all this great stuff from basketball anatomy.
Right.
But now I want to know, how do I actually use this? How do I put this into practice?
Well, they dedicate a whole chapter to program design, and they emphasize individualization.
Okay, so like tailoring the program to my needs and goals.
Exactly. They take into account factors like your training age.
Training age.
Yeah, like how long you've been training, the demands of your position. Are you a guard? Are you a center?
Right.
And even your injury history.
Okay, so this is way more in depth than I thought. It's not just like following some generic workout.
No, it's about understanding your body and designing a program that helps you achieve your goals safely.
Okay, and they talk about periodization too, right?
Yes, periodization.
I've heard that word, but I don't really know what it means.
It's basically varying your training over time.
Okay,
So you have periods of intense work followed by periods of recovery,
I see.
and this helps you avoid plateaus, prevent injuries, and make progress.
So it's like strategically planning your workouts.
Exactly. You're not just going all out all the time.
Right.
A common approach is starting with a foundational phase. You build a solid base.
Kind of like what we talked about earlier, building that foundation.
Exactly. Then you might move into a strength phase. Increase the intensity focus on building maximal strength.
So heavier weights, fewer reps.
Right. Then you transition into a power phase, emphasizing explosive movement.
Power cleans and plyometrics.
Exactly. All that jumping and quickness. And then before a big game, you might ease up a bit.
Let your body recover.
Yeah, that's the pre-competition or peaking phase.
So there's a whole science to this. It's amazing.
It is.
Do they actually give specifics about like sets, reps, exercises?
They do for strength training. They generally recommend 3 5 sets of 1 6 reps when focusing on strength,
Okay.
and 3 4 sets of 8 12 reps for hypertrophy.
So like lighter weights, more reps for building muscle,
Exactly.
heavier weights, fewer reps for building strength.
Right. And for power exercises, they recommend lower reps, 1 5.
To maintain that quality?
Yeah, and prevent fatigue.
Okay, so there's really a method to this. It's not just random.
Not at all.
And how often should I be working out?
They suggest 3 4 days a week,
Okay.
allows for recovery, and they really stress listening to your body.
Yeah, that's important, knowing when to push and when to rest.
Exactly. Recognizing signs of overtraining.
I've definitely learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
And they talk about athletic preparation too.
Yes, they say a lot of young players today are just not physically prepared.
So it's not just about jumping right into intense training.
Right, they suggest activities like running, jumping, playing other sports.
Okay, so building that broad base of fitness.
Exactly, you need that foundation.
Makes sense. You can't build a house on a shaky foundation, right?
Right, and they also touch on the mental side,
Yeah.
like setting goals, staying motivated, having a positive mindset.
It's all connected.
It is.
Wow, we've learned so much in this deep dive into basketball anatomy, strength, power, injury prevention, the mental game.
It's been a great discussion.
So the key takeaway is that peak performance comes from a well-rounded approach.
Absolutely. Training smart, listening to your body, working toward your goals consistently.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire some future NBA stars.
You never know.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.